Can we preserve our brain knowledge and data to a computer's hard drive and become immortal? Envision a future where a machine can check your cerebrum and relocate your psyche's basics to a PC. It's called mind downloading, saving an individual's awareness in a computerized existence in the wake of death. Eventually, human bodies will crumble to death. Sooner it will decompose and then vanish permanently. Be that as it may, imagine a scenario where it didn't need to. At present, there are researchers around the globe taking a shot at innovation, which might one day capture your memory, quite probably your awareness, and download this to a processor. It would be a distinct advantage in neuroscience, and some convictions could prompt everlasting status. Anyway, how close can we say we are to downloading our cerebrum data? Your intellectual state can be best portrayed just as your perspective, while your perception itself is only how your mind measures data. Several kinds of cognitive styles usually impact how you perceive your emotions and the environment. The researchers ensured, a human brain comprises 100 trillion neurons in approximate, and each of these neurons has a vast number of associations. The significant part about the human brain, the hypothesis goes, isn't the structure, it is about the calculations that ride on the head of the structure. So if the framework that bolsters the calculations is repeated, even in an alternate medium, at that point the resultant brain ought to be indistinguishable. If this demonstrates accurately, this is almost inevitable that we could soon find advancements that enable us to clone and upload our thoughts and spend eternity in this digitized world. Mimicking trillions of synapses into the silicon world, a challenge to the neurological world. You are taking a gander at several trillions of those synaptic associations, all of which have been tailored to the context of your existence. To replicate your brain, every trillion of postsynaptic affiliations should be screened, followed, and innovatively recreated as an emulated cerebellum on a screen. The assumption, though, is that this device will not only respond like a biological brain but also preserve the memories and experiences of an individual whose brain has screened. Specialists unlocking the way to interminably. Presently, this is extraordinary to consider and makes it a fascinating tattle for, so we still have to explore a viable human brain, and hardly test any hypothesis of awareness. There are extensions everywhere worldwide dealing with examining and reenacting cerebrums for the sake of medical care and medication. It is more about opening our cerebrum's riddles and less about opening the way to everlasting status. Though medical science will improve over the next 50 years, humans are not on a collision path to attain perfection by eliminating all diseases. Bodies essentially wear out with use. Nonetheless, we are on a brief training with advances that allow us to store incredibly enormous amounts of data to run gigantic models. Hence, before we see how cerebrums work, we will get ourselves ready to carefully duplicate the mind's structure and prepared to download the conscious brain into a PC. Suppose the computational speculation of mind work is right. In that case, it proposes that an imitation of your cerebrum will hold your recollections, will act and think and feel how you do, and will encounter your awareness, regardless of whether it's worked out of innate cells, tinkertoys, or zeros and ones. Matrix conceptualization by 2025. We will no longer bite the dust. We will instead live in virtual universes like the Matrix. We accept there will be markets for buying various types of eternities and offering them to multiple individuals. It is the eventual fate of long-range interpersonal communication. What's more, when you download it, you may even have the option to watch the videos of your after-death rituals, real body, in the way that we would see an intriguing film. Upcoming challenging scenario. This estimated future inserts numerous suppositions, the credibility of which could spill the place of cards. The primary issue is that we don't know which factors are essential to catch in our theoretical cerebrum check. Relevant results are expected to provide the extensive communication of tens of billions of neural networks. Be that as it may, knowing the highlight point circuit outline of the mind may not be adequate to determine its capacity. The specific three-dimensional course of action of the neurons and glia is probably going to issue too. We may additionally need to test and record the quality of every one of the trillions of synaptic associations. In an even more difficult situation, the position of protein complexes, phosphorylation patterns, precise spatial extent, adjacent enzyme intonation, and so forth, would need to be checked and processed. We must keep this in our mind that, the modeling of the brain and nervous system alone will never be adequate for a successful approximation of perception. Different parts of the body may require incorporation, for example, the endocrine framework, which imparts and gets signs from the mind. This contemplation conceivably leads to billions of trillions of factors that should be preserved and replicated. Presently, imagine a scenario in which the human brain altered. The other significant obstacle is that the mimicked cerebrum must have the option to change itself. We need the pieces and parts yet besides the material science of their continuous communications, for instance, the movement of record factors that moves to the core and cause quality articulation, the dynamic changes in area and quality of the neurotransmitters, etc. Except if your recreated encounters change your reproduced cerebrum structure, you will not be able to frame new recollections and have no feeling of time progression. Under those conditions, do you think there is any point in everlasting status? Fortunately, digital processing power is blooming adequately rapidly and we are probably going to make it possible by 50 years. Also, note that recreation shouldn't be run progressively for the mimicked mind to trust it is working continuously. There's no uncertainty that entire mind copying is an extraordinarily testing issue. With no advanced technologies intended for high goal filtering for sorter requirements, and regardless of whether we did, it would take a few of the world's most remarkable processors to reflect several cubic millimeters of neural tissue in real time. It's a huge concern. But if we haven't overlooked something significant with our scientific structures, we've got the dilemma cornered. I'm hoping to see the uploading of consciousness coming to fruition with my lifetime. Uploading one's consciousness may sound more like coming out from a fantasy story, yet a few scientists also believe it as conceivable on the behalf of certain modern technologies that are already their route to achieving this goal.